Man, what a veteran, huh? Or what a man, right?
What a man.
And here, what a journey to get here too, isn't it?
This was quite the journey just to walk up the hill, come through a horse pasture.
Yeah, this is crazy.
This is.
Hey everybody, this is Russ from Family Tree Nuts, and we are in rural Nicholas County. When I say rural, we're pretty rural, aren't we?
We are.
Kind of thing like that. We're in a field. We've got some shots that we're showing you of where we're at, but we're in the cemetery with, well, tell them who you are.
I'm Sue Baber-Castle, and this is James Norton, my 5 times great-grandfather.
Our 5th-time great-grandfather. We're going to tell a little bit about him here in a second, but the story here is we showed up. We knew we might have to hop a fence or something like that, but there's some thoroughbreds there that we met. What was the name of that horse?
Back
of the ranch.
Back on the ranch. Yeah.
There's 4 horses there, and the gentleman met us here and gave us a ride in the back of the truck.
Of course, we are in Kentucky, so there should be thoroughbreds around us.
Yeah, that
stands to reason.
Pretty neat. And this is just part of genealogy. It's a whole lot more than just sitting behind a computer,
Right.
kind of thing. You see the cemetery. We've got some shots that it was a beautiful brick wall. It's a little bit unkept and things, but hey, we found James Norton.
He's still here.
Yeah. You saw how we had to dig him up or dig him out of the thing there.
Right.
So, but who is James Norton?
James Norton to me is he's my 4th great-grandfather and my 5th great-grandfather through different branches of my family tree. Happens a lot in Kentucky. And he was a Revolutionary War soldier. He's fought 4 tours through the Revolutionary War. He was documented as a Minuteman and in Washington's Guard as well, and fought in several Indian battles.
Sure.
Actually at the Battle of Yorktown.
That's amazing. Yeah, the Battle of Yorktown and such. He was a substitute one time, and
that's
he
right.
thought the fighting was over, and in 1781, and he came to Kentucky early 1782, and what happened then?
Surprise, it wasn't over. He happened to be at Fort Boonesboro when the call came out that Bryan Station was being attacked, and he, along with several men, traveled onto the Blue Licks and fought the Battle of Blue Licks, which did end up being the last documented battle of the Revolutionary War.
Was. And then
exactly.
As a crow flies, that's not very far at all from here, is it?
No, it's not. We're not far at all down the road from there.
Right.
20 minutes away.
Yeah, maybe as a crow flies, it might be 15 miles. I'm not sure.
Right.
But,
not far.
But after the Battle of Blue Licks, he served for several more years. I think another 9 years or so in the militias.
Right.
And he took part in fighting the Indians in Tennessee, fighting the Indians in Ohio a couple times. I think he was with...
he was with Simon Kenton, Simon Kenton, under Daniel Boone at one time, under
General St.Clair against the Miamis, and Colonel Logan. Against the Cherokees in Tennessee.
Right.
So the guy had nothing but fighting.
Right.
And then I think he finally gets remarried. He goes back to Virginia, doesn't he?
He does. He leaves Kentucky, goes back to Virginia, where he marries Jean Bobby, and along with her family and his family, they end up moving back to Kentucky permanently. He's in Greenup County. We find him, but then he settled mostly around Lawrence County.
Sure, and I think that's really cool because you found his pension records for Lawrence County for his Revolutionary War.
We did.
And who do we see on there?
A relative of yours.
My 6th great-grandfather, Josiah Markham, was on the same thing there. So
that's amazing.
It's how we're connected in so many different ways and things like that. And that's somebody 200 miles from here where they were living. So as he got up in age, though, I think he moved in with his uncle. Or his nephew.
His nephew Hiram, who owned this land at one point. He lived here for a while, and where we're sitting is actually Hiram Norton's burying ground.
Right, and I think you said there's a bunch of Nortons that are in here and things, and we found several in here. It's kind of difficult to find them, but I think the gentleman that gave us the ride here, he said that. It's still in Norton, isn't it? Still in Norton's hand?
It's not. Norton sold it to the people who Mr. Sims bought it from. So it didn't change hands too much.
Sure.
In the last
but Nortons have lived here.
Nortons have lived here, and there are still Nortons in this area
for a couple, 100 years, kind of thing.
A long time. Yes.
And James here, he's 96 years old, and he got a pension, but he didn't get it. They didn't have a pension office where he lived when it first started in the early 1830s.
Yeah, in Lawrence County, Kentucky, he had to walk to Virginia once a year to get his $40 that he was owed for his pension.
Give me that check.
Give me that money. money. That's right, $40. Then he'd walk back, and then they eventually did end up with the pension office in Lawrence County.
Wow, I wonder how many days it took him to, well, I guess he didn't have much else to do, but it's good exercise when he was in that age.
Well, maybe that's why he lived to be so old.
Maybe so, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We've seen the shots of the cemetery here and things like that. It's very common that we've seen these. I've been in dozens of these cemeteries. They're on forgotten land, you know, kind of thing. They can only, you know, plant crops right up to them. They get abandoned and forgotten about, but it's definitely a passion of myself to bring these people so they're not forgotten, you know, that
and someone who has this type of history certainly shouldn't be forgotten.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what's it like to be here at this burial site?
Well, it's pretty surreal. It feels like I'm visiting with my great-grandfather, which I kind of am in one sense. One thing we didn't talk about is at the Battle of Blue Licks, you know, he fought right next to Daniel Boone.
He did.
And he would have been about the same age as Israel, Daniel Boone's son.
He was at Boonesboro.
He was. They were at Boonesboro together. And then when Israel died at the Battle of Blue Licks, James was standing right next to Boone, and he said, "My God, Daniel, it's Israel."
Yeah.
So he saw Israel get killed at the Battle of Blue Licks, right next to Daniel. My God, Daniel, it's Israel. And that's been passed on down in our family. I was a little kid. Probably the first time I heard that.
That's a great story. That's a great story.
That's why it's important to tell those stories.
It sure is. It's been documented on videos like
Exactly.
You know, here we are, and I'm glad we got to get the shots of how it takes to get here. So
yes, definitely. It's well worth it.
Absolutely. So, is there anything else you'd like to say while we're here at all? Or?
No, I think you summed it up in the fact that it's important to document the people who helped to found our state and recognize them and keep them living on.
Absolutely. So this has been definitely a unique video. You got to see some pretty scenery and some things like that, and some little unusual stuff to have to go in there. I'm glad we got to find James Norton here. We're at the gravesite here, just inside of Nicholas County, Kentucky. The gravesite of James Norton, 4-time Revolutionary War veteran, actually 5, and Indian war fighter, and so much more. So, so hey, remember, family tree nuts. Let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.